Tonight's story is about a quiet word and the slow path it took into English. It begins with an old island name, passes through a storybook and a letter, and then settles gently into everyday speech. The word is serendipity. It is one of those words that already sounds soft before anyone explains it. The shape of it moves slowly. The middle of it seems to rest for a moment. The end of it drifts away a little, as if the word is in no hurry to arrive. It is easy to imagine hearing it in a dim room, perhaps near the close of the day, when the lamp is on and the rest of the room has become quiet around it. Many familiar words have rough or noisy beginnings. This one does not feel that way. Even before knowing where it came from, a person might guess that it traveled gently. It feels like a word that crossed time on paper, resting in books, in letters, in private thought, before finding its place in ordinary conversation. And in a way, that is close to the truth. If we follow the word backward, slowly and without hurry, we come to the 18th century. We come to a winter date, January 28, 1754. We come to a man writing a letter at a desk. His name was Horace Walpole, and the letter was addressed to Horace Mann. It was not the sort of moment that announces itself with grand importance. It was simply writing, paper, ink, a room, a message being formed line by line. That is one of the calming things about the story of this word. It does not begin with a speech to a crowd. It does not begin with a decree. It begins in the quiet privacy of correspondence, in the ordinary rhythm of one person telling another what he has been thinking about. A new word enters the language in a room small enough for a desk and a chair and a little winter light. Walpole used the word in that letter, and he also explained where he had found the idea for it. He said he had taken it from an old story, a fairy tale called The Three Princes of Serendip. In that tale, the princes were known for noticing things along the way and making discoveries they were not directly searching for. Not because the world burst open with drama, but because they paid a quiet kind of attention. That small combination stayed with him. Accident, and also noticing. Finding, and also drifting. A useful thing appearing when no one had set out with a firm hand to demand it. So the word began there, in part, with a storybook. If we pause beside that storybook for a while, the scene remains gentle. We do not need to follow every turn of the tale. We do not need to sharpen it into a puzzle. It is enough to picture the broad feeling of it. Three travelers moving through the world. Roads unfolding in front of them. The light changing as they go. A habit of seeing what lies near at hand. Not forcing discovery, only coming upon it. That is a very bedtime kind of idea. Not hunting. Not chasing, not trying too hard, just moving carefully enough that some small thing, already present, can be noticed. The name inside that story is the next quiet step in the journey. Serendip, sometimes serendib. The word sounds old even before we know why. It was an older name for the island now known as Sri Lanka. For a long time names for places traveled in many forms. They moved with merchants, sailors, map makers, readers, listeners, and copyists. A place could rest inside more than one language at once, wearing slightly different shapes as it passed from mouth to mouth and page to page. Britannica notes that Serendib came through Arabic use, and that further back it reaches toward an older Sanskrit name for the island. Even that detail can be taken quietly. We do not need to turn it into a lesson. It is enough to imagine an old map with sea routes drawn over faded blue water. An island near the curve of the Indian Ocean. A name written one way in one century, another way in another. Sound changing slowly, as sounds do, while the island remains where it always was. There is something restful about old place names. They remind us that language is never fixed for very long. Words settle for a while, then travel again. They soften at the edges. They gather history without making a fuss about it. So now the path is visible in a calm sequence. First an island name, then a story that carries the name, then a reader of that story, sitting at a desk, then a letter, then a word, serendip, serendip, serendipity. You can almost feel the extra syllables arriving like a layer of cloth being folded over something small and bright. What is especially quiet about this history is that the word did not rush at once into loud and constant use. Some words arrive with a trumpet, but many do not. Many live first in letters, in books, in thoughtful rooms, in the company of readers. They wait on shelves, they rest in margins, they linger in private admiration before they spread into wider speech. Serendipity seems like that kind of word. Its first known use is in 1754, but the feeling of the word is patient. It suggests that language can be roomy enough to keep a gentle invention safe until more people are ready to use it. A word can begin as a personal pleasure. It can stay tucked into pages for a while. It can move from one mind to another the way lamplight moves across a room, without haste and without noise. If we picture those years softly, we might think of a shelf of books in a still house, a letter folded and kept, a paper packet tied with string, dust lifting when a volume is opened, a phrase encountered by chance, a reader smiling at it, perhaps not even speaking it aloud at first. Then later, somewhere else, another reader, another page, another quiet adoption. This is how some things grow best, not with pressure, not with urgency, by being suitable to a certain kind of moment, and serendipity is suitable to many quiet moments. Eventually the word came to mean what many people now feel when they hear it, finding something agreeable or valuable that was not directly being sought. Not mere luck in the empty sense, and not a grand reward for a fierce chase. More like the gentle appearance of something good while attention is resting in the right place. A person wanders in a bookshop and notices a book that fits the evening perfectly. A walker turns down a calm side street and finds a garden wall warm in the late light. A cook opens a cupboard and rediscovers a jar that had been forgotten until exactly the right soup. A reader opens a page for one reason and finds another idea waiting there, a better one than the one first intended. None of these moments needs to be dramatic. In fact, the word works best when the discovery feels proportionate, even modest. Serendipity does not need fireworks. It prefers windows, shelves, paths, desks, pockets, and pages. Much later the language gained the adjective serendipitous. Merriam-Webster records its first known use in 1910. That is another calm detail in the story. The family of the word took time to widen. It did not unfold all at once. One form came first, and another arrived later, after years had already passed. Even in its growth, the word remained unhurried. That slow expansion is part of what makes the whole history feel so even. There is no need to imagine language as a race. Some words ripen slowly. Some wait for the right listeners. Some stay quiet for decades before stepping closer to the center of speech. And when they do, they often carry a little of that quietness with them. Serendipity still does. It is a word people use for pleasant discoveries, but it also carries a mood. The mood is part of the reason the word lasts. It suggests a world that is not entirely shut. It suggests that good things can appear at the edge of attention, where effort loosens a little. It suggests that observation can be gentle. It suggests that chance does not always arrive in a noisy costume. Perhaps that is why the word feels restful. It leaves space around itself. There are words that push.
Marketing is being on yun. Si Basim do it love is good. That's by years. You would more comfort listening going to get for take a breath.
Serendipity. Smore that shogor. The macure yourself a good gorn. Svima mina mubi and lenus is got the day and lawn you do make this dainty. There got on the papa home. Brick me the rocker will be in that even right. And if we can do we can just go out with you. Just that the other told them moon it's